making an inquiry over her score within the allotted time. She was stripped of that medal based on this, minutia technicality after an appeal by Romania. So maybe we add to our U.S. medal count.
Let's hope so.
Retroactively, yeah.
NHL star Patrick Kane makes hockey history. This is the story you both wanted. Mike and Anthony in the newscast. The all-time leading scorer among U.S.-born players on Thursday. Kane earned his 1,375th point last night. Kane is now in his 19th NHL season after spending 15 years in Chicago. He breaks the previous record held by former Minnesota North star Mike Modano.
Good Day Chicago at 7 starts now.
And breaking this morning, 2 people are killed in a house explosion in the suburbs.
The deadline to avoid a partial government shutdown is tonight, and a last-minute deal could be key to an agreement.
National protests will be held today as demonstrators demand an end to the immigration crackdown.
And let's take you outside this morning for a little look around there. Mike says we're expecting some lake effect snow this morning.
All right, we appreciate you joining us here on Good Day Chicago here at 7 o'clock. We made it to Friday morning. And Mike, I guess we were successful in our Patrick Kane lobbying efforts.
Eternally.
Because he's still ours, right? We claim some ownership of Patrick Kane.
Exactly. He spent almost all of his career here. Who cares what he does in Detroit now? Yeah. But congrats. Just last week he had his 500th goal, so he set a couple of milestones there. All right, let's talk about it. Snow is on the way. There are a couple of flurries out there now, but the main lake effect still a couple hours off. Lake effect snow should be starting by 10, 9 o'clock maybe. Snowing and cold, noon, 18 degrees. Snow showers returning to the area. We're going to have a couple of separate waves of lake effect snow. Right now, just cloudy at O'Hare, 10. West-northwest winds at 8, so we have a wind chill of 2 below 0 currently. Taking a look at the radar, where you see the green on here is where the snow is falling most heavily over the lake itself. It has not come inland yet, but there are a couple of flurries showing up, especially in Lake and northern Cook County. But that snow is coming in here and is going to impact the commute later on. There could be some periods of time today where that snow is falling at an inch or 2 per hour. It may not last that long, but there could be some real whiteout conditions. Anthony's got our new traffic update for you, and hopefully, well, that truck is still on its side, isn't it?
Yes, that's actually video from earlier. Right now, you're looking at an overturned box truck. Crews have reclosed the outbound Eisenhower as they are trying to get that box truck upright right now. But we are talking about solid traffic on the outbound side. This is right at 25th, right at the at exit 18. And adding insult to injury, the Ike is actually closed down right there, just west of there on the inbound side. As well. Let me pull up the details for that inbound side accident. Yeah, this happened right at US 12. This was reported just before that other accident, shortly after 6 a.m. So an absolute mess on the Eisenhower in both directions. Crews are also working an accident. If you use the tri-state and typically go over that massive Thornton Quarry, there's an accident that is partially blocking the roadway there at Dixie Highway. So expect delays in both directions down there. Let's take a look at our drive times this morning. On the Kennedy Expressway, if you're coming in from O'Hare, you're at 36 minutes. That's the ride downtown. 37 on the Eisenhower, although I don't think that reflects what is happening west of that situation at 25th. So expect that to be longer. And again, the outbound side is absolutely jammed. On the Stevenson Expressway, you're at 31 minutes inbound from I-355 to Lakeshore Drive. And as of right now, it's only a 26-minute ride inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th. As Mike mentioned, though, we are dealing with pockets of lake effect snow. So take it easy out there.
We're learning new details this morning after a house explosion in Oswego.
Roseanne is live there with the very latest on what led to this, what they know so far. Roseanne, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, 2 people found in the debris of this house fire on Fox Chase Drive in Oswego. Initially, they knew 2 people were missing, but they did not locate the bodies until late yesterday. But as you can see, let me show you the house now. It is leveled, a total loss heavily damaged here. The fire officials say it started with an explosion about 5 p.m. yesterday, and that was followed by heavy flames and huge plumes of smoke. Neighbors reportedly heard that blast, and they felt their homes shake. Oswego firefighters say the two-story wood frame house had already collapsed and was fully engulfed when they arrived, except for a garage, part of a garage that was still standing. They say preliminary indications point to a gas leak as the likely cause. Now, several fire departments were called in to help, including Plainfield, Sugar Grove, Aurora, Bolingbrook firefighters were out here. Fire officials knew that those two people were unaccounted for, but as I said, it wasn't until late in the day that they were able to locate the bodies, and we are waiting for Kendall County coroners to release that information. Now, Oswego fire investigators are still on the scene this morning. As I said, that garage is now gone. I'm sure they had to take that down. It was just the only thing left standing. And if we can look a little to the right, I'll show you the damage to the nearby homes. Pretty intense heat damage on the siding of that house, but fortunately nothing more serious. So once again, fire investigators from the State Fire Marshal, ATF, Oswego Fire Department are still here in these brutal conditions this morning. A lot of ice on the ground, a lot of slipping and sliding going on, and it's certainly freezing cold, but they go about their work here on Fox Chase Drive. In Oswego, Roseanne Tejas, Fox Chicago.
Thank you, Roseanne. 7:06 now this morning. We could be headed for a partial government shutdown tonight.
Let's check back in with Gabby for an update on that and some of the other top stories we're following for you. Gabby?
Yeah, remember, Natalie Anthony, yesterday we said that there was a deal in place between Senate Democrats and the White House, but an expected vote fell apart last night. The deal would have funded most of the government through September, but just 2 weeks for the Department of Homeland Security. Now, Democrats have voiced frustration over immigration enforcement. As we know, lawmakers are hoping for another vote later on today. In breaking news, President Trump has announced his pick for the next Federal Reserve chair. He's picking former Federal Reserve Governor Kevin Warsh to replace Jerome Powell once his term ends in May. Powell was selected by Trump to lead the Fed during his first term in office, but has since called for his removal over disagreements on interest rate cuts. Class will be back in session today for some schools in Dixmoor. Crews repaired a water main break yesterday. The two schools impacted were Rosa L. Parks Middle School and Martin Luther King Elementary School. The water main break was near 146th and Steele Avenue. Now, the town just underwent a massive 2024 infrastructure improvement project, hoping to solve the problem. Natalie Anthony.
Gabriella, we're learning more details about the murder of a pregnant woman in Downers Grove.
Brian is here in studio with the very latest. Brian?
Well, prosecutors are seeking life in prison for the 19-year-old suspect. Natus Revukis is accused of stabbing 30-year-old Eliza Morales with a screwdriver and then setting her on fire. She was also 5 months pregnant. It all stemmed from a sale on Facebook Marketplace. Officials say that a rape kit was taken, and not only did Eliza have vaginal bruising, but they also say that she was burned in that area as well. Revukis is charged with first-degree murder, among other felonies.
You know, as a police chief, this is the worst call that you can get. And, you know, immediately once we started determining the circumstances that were involved here, we knew that our top priority was to solve this case.
The 19-year-old remains locked up at the DuPage County Jail. His arraignment is set for February 18th. Anthony?
Okay, Brian, thank you. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey is pushing for an end to what he calls unlawful ICE operations in his state. He was at a mayor's conference in D.C. defending Minneapolis as a sanctuary city. This all comes as Border Czar Tom Homan takes over immigration enforcement operations in the Twin Cities. Homan said he will hold agents accountable, and the Trump administration is working on a drawdown plan to decrease the overall number of federal agents in the state.
This is not a time to bend our heads in despair or out of fear that we may be next, because if we do not speak up, if we do not step out, it will be your city that is next.
I'm staying till the problem's gone. But we've made a lot of progress the last 3 days.
Homan says he spoke with Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Frey, saying that they agreed that constructive dialogue is needed in this situation. Meantime, demonstrations are expected across the country today for what is being called a national ICE out protest. Organizers are calling for a general strike today, meaning no work or school or shopping. Organizers are demanding that the Trump administration end the tactics used in its immigration crackdown. Protests are expected in major cities, including Chicago.
The former Illinois sheriff's deputy downstate, convicted in the shooting death of Sonia Massey, has been sentenced to 20 years in prison. 31-year-old Sean Grayson apologized during the sentencing, saying he wished he could bring Massey back and spare her family the pain. In July of 2024, Massey called 911 for help. But when officers arrived, body camera footage showed Massey moving a pot of boiling water off the stove, and the situation escalated. Grayson shot and killed her. A hearing is set for March 6th for an appeal. Multiple people hospitalized after a surprising incident at Goldfish Swim School in Park Ridge. Officials say there was a chemical release in the pump room yesterday afternoon. A facility was evacuated and the fire department was called. Some members of the school were taken to Lutheran General Hospital for evaluation and treatment. They are expected to be okay.
All right, Sox fans will get a chance to gear up for the upcoming season. SoxFest kicks off today. It is returning to the Romova Theater, the newly updated Romova Theater in Bridgeport. Players and broadcasters will be in attendance. There will also be other forms of entertainment as well, with SoxFest running through tomorrow.
And we want to step outside, but not for too long. We've got that lake effect snow that's churning up there, and it is still so super cold, Mike Kaplan.
Yeah, the temperatures over the next several days are going to be trending upward ever so slightly, so that's one positive thing. But we got to get through this lake effect snow. Right now, the heaviest lake effect, almost all of it, is over water, not really bothering anybody, but there are a couple of flurries that have made it inland. There appear to be a couple of what we call meso-lows, areas of small low pressure here, which often result in heavier snowfall rates as these things move to the west. So right now, this is still quite a ways offshore, but anywhere from northwest Indiana to the Illinois side later this morning, going to get in on some of that lake effect snow. So be ready for it. Natalie was talking about the temperatures. Yeah, they're cold, and especially where skies have remained clear overnight. It's 5 below at Kankakee, but clouds came in and propped temperatures up. Midway, O'Hare, Waukegan in there at 10, where the cloud cover's been a little bit more prevalent. Snow is on the way. Lake effect snow. This is going to be a situation where you might be driving around for a while, see nothing, be like, hey, what's going on? And then all of a sudden you hit a wall of white that can reduce visibility to less than a quarter mile. Watch out for that throughout the day today, tonight, and tomorrow. It won't happen consistently during that period, but you've got to be on your guard. I think widespread 1/2 to 3 inches of snow just through the afternoon hours, with more snow on the way tonight. And most of that is going to be pointed towards northwest Indiana, where we have that winter storm warning in effect through tomorrow evening at 6. That's where 6+ is likely to come down. But there could be some bigger totals near the lake on the Illinois side as well, especially from the city and points south. There is some relief from the extreme cold to talk about in the 7-day forecast. I'll show that to you here in just a few.
Okay, Mike, we'll see you shortly. Thank you, sir. There's a new report out that says your utility bills have become the fastest driver of inflation. What one research company is saying about the situation when we come back. Okay, it's 7:15. It's Friday morning. Yeah, that's the good news. We made it to Friday. Bad news is, yeah, it might get complicated outside because of the lake effect snow, especially if you're near Lake Michigan. Mike will have the details very shortly.
And Gabriela Primus is in studio with a look at this morning's top stories for us.
And we've been following this one. We have an unfortunate update for you, honestly. We have learned 2 people were killed in a house explosion in Oswego. So fire officials say the 2 were found after a search of the debris there. The explosion and fire happened along Fox Chase Drive around 6 p.m. Thursday. Once the fire was mostly extinguished, a natural gas line continued to burn. NICOR clamped off the gas supply there. An exact cause of the explosion has not been determined. We could be headed for a partial government shutdown tonight. A deal was in place between Senate Democrats and the White House, but an expected vote fell apart late last night. Democrats have voiced frustration over immigration enforcement and funding the Department of Homeland Security. Demonstrations are expected across the country today for what's being called a national ICE out protest. Organizers are calling for a general strike, meaning no work, no school or shopping. They demand the Trump administration end its immigration crackdown. Protests are expected in major cities, including Chicago. Anthony.
Thank you, Gabby. We have been telling you for a while about these sky-high NIPSCO bills that residents of Northwest Indiana have been seeing of late. Well, now there's a new report out that says your utility bills have become the fastest driver of inflation. In 2024, utility companies across the country requested rate increases totaling $15 billion. But in 2025, those requests more than doubled at nearly $31 billion. These are the findings from a group called Power Lines, which is a nonpartisan consumer education group. Their research team found that the cost of electric and gas utilities is not only outpacing inflation, it's surpassing pretty much every other expense like groceries. And so this group says it's important to make your voices heard if you want to see change.
The cost of living is already too high, and utility bills are a big part of that because, you know, it changes so much month to month, so it's hard to budget for, and there's just so little transparency into how all of this works. So there's this kind of black box effect where you look at your utility bill and you squint and you're like, what's going on here? I have no idea what any of these terms mean, and there's nobody there to explain why this is happening or what's going on or how consumers can make their voice heard.
There are scheduled protests outside of NIPSCO offices in both Hammond and Merrillville next week. All right, 7:18. Let's send it over to Mike Kaplan for an update on this lake effect snow situation.
All right, so far, not that much going on. We're, getting into the rush hour without much, if any, snow falling. I mean, it could be a couple of flurries out there right now, but the main lake effect snow is still out over open water. That said, there are advisories, watches, and warnings. In pink, winter storm warning, Lake and Porter County. This is where the heaviest lake effect snow is likely to fall, especially into tonight and early tomorrow. These spots could get 6 inches plus. Somebody's going to get a foot out of there, I think. So winter storm watch for the city of Chicago and most of Cook County. That watch has to change. The Weather Service kind of unsure. Do we want to go with a warning? Should we go with an advisory like we have in Northern Cook, Lake, and DuPage County? I think it's more than likely going to end up being a winter weather advisory for the city of Chicago, but we'll see. If things get out of hand and that heavy snow starts to impact the city a little bit more prominently, they will go with that winter storm warning. On radar right now, we do see a little bit of snow out there over the lake. Where you see the dark blue is where the real deal is going on. You can see it's exclusively over water, just a couple of flurries so far over land. But that's going to change. We'll get that lake effect snow in here, and I think by afternoon, going to be most of the area in that half-inch to maybe 3-inch club. But it's not over yet. There is more snow on the way. This second wave is going to slide down the lake, might hit the city back end of the evening commute, and then hit Northwest Indiana most heavily, where 6+ is likely. I really think somebody may end up getting a foot of snow in Lake and Porter County. Snow showers continue tomorrow adjacent to the lake, even on the Illinois side, but it will be less intense. We'll hit 22 tomorrow, then 20s, even some low 30s showing up in the extended forecast. 30 on Wednesday with a chance for some light snow. All right, Anthony, at least, so far the commute has not been impacted by snow, but upside-down trucks, not good.
Upside-down trucks are not doing good things for the commute. This is on the outbound side of the Eisenhower. This was footage from a little bit earlier from Sky Fox. So crews are still looking and trying to get that overturned box truck uprighted. They've closed the outbound side, so it's solid traffic in that direction. Delays of up to 1 hour, and it's also ugly on the other side of the expressway there on the inbound side. Of the right lane is blocked right about 25th Street there. US 12, I should say, US 12. Also, if you use the Tri-State Tollway, the roadway is partially blocked in both directions right at the Thornton Quarry. So heads up there if you're in the south suburbs near Indiana. And also just see a new accident that popped up with the 3 lanes blocked on the westbound side of the Jane Addams Tollway. This is right out near O'Hare, so be aware of that. Here are your drive times. Right now, you're at 39 inbound on the Kennedy, 42 inbound on the Eisenhower from Route 390. Again, it's the outbound side that's jammed solid. On the Stevenson, you're at 37 minutes inbound from I-355, and it's about a half-hour ride inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to downtown. Natalie?
Anthony, plenty more to come here on Good Day Chicago. Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias is going to join us in studio. We're talking about the Real ID deadline that is coming this weekend. How the Illinois hotel industry is raising awareness in the fight against human trafficking. And an apartment building in Forest Park has been condemned after residents complained about living without heat this winter. We'll be right back.
Your go-to source for live
The clock is ticking for you to get your real ID or face a fine potentially of traveling. That fine goes into effect starting Sunday. Joining me is Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias, and I feel like we go so far back, you know, and so I appreciate always whenever you come in. Let's talk a little bit about this. So explain first to people what this deadline means.
The deadline means starting midnight tomorrow night,
okay.
Saturday night. If you do not have a real ID or a passport, you will pay $45 per person per trip if you leave out of an airport. So for a family of 4, that's $180 for each trip. So we're imploring folks, please, please, we've made it as easy as possible. We've done more than any other Secretary of State's office in America with our Real ID Supercenter, with opening up thousands of appointments, an interactive website. So we're really begging people, because we don't want to see them get hit with this penalty.
Love the website. I checked it out the other day because I was going to try to get mine, and it asks you a series of questions to make sure that you actually need it. Do you think there will come a time when all of us are going to have to get this Real ID, regardless of whether or not we're traveling?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, looking a few years down the road, people are going to have to get it. And, we've been really busy at our office. So, it's the wave of the future. The federal government's requiring it. It's our job to administer it. We've tried to make it easy as possible, as you know, because we've been on here a number of times. We're basically screaming from the rooftop for folks to get it done.
What are their options? They've got the downtown super site. How long is that going to be open? And then if you live in the suburbs, what can you do?
Yes, so we have a lot of facilities that are open on Saturdays. If you can't get there during the week because you have kids or work or school, so check our website to make sure it's open. We opened the first Real ID Supercenter in America, as I mentioned, on Clark and Lake. We are open this Saturday if you want to go. We have our flagship center on Monroe and LaSalle. So we're doing everything we can to add employee hours, to open it up, to make sure that people have options, and that when they do get there, they're not waiting.
Good. Let's hope that's not the case for people. Yes. I want to move on to this issue of e-bikes and e-scooters. They're becoming so popular, especially with kids. And you have proposed some legislation to make them safer for riders.
Yeah, so what we're hearing across the state, whether you live in, downtown Chicago, or whether you live in the suburbs, or quite frankly, rural Illinois, the world is changing. These e-bikes and e-scooters are dangerously unregulated. So you have these machines that can go up to 50 miles an hour with no age limits, no age restrictions, no license requirements. So a lot of kids are getting hurt. A lot of people are dying because of these accidents. You see them on the sidewalks. You see them on the street. There's a patchwork of regulations depending on what town you live in. So this legislation is twofold. One, to educate parents who are buying gifts for their kids and don't realize the dangers. And the second is to pass legislation to have a streamlined regulatory system so that it doesn't depend on what town you're on. So we're proud of this. It's really important, and quite frankly, it's incredibly past due.
Okay, so you'll keep us posted on that, and then I want to get to this last story because I told our viewers we were going to follow up with this. This is crazy. So this woman who lives in the Chicago suburbs, she gets this red light ticket in the mail. It's her license plate, but a different vehicle. And even like the 9s on the license plates are different. Like hers is like old school curvy 9, and the other one is a straight. Anyway, we'll show you the picture here. Take a look. So how does something like this happen, and what recourse does she have? Because we understand that your office might be looking into this.
We are looking into it. We don't, we have to have a little more thorough investigation before I start spitting out answers here. But that's very surprising. I will say it is incredibly rare. But we're taking a look at it.
All right, thank you. And I'm happy to hear that when individual people have problems, they can come to your office and get the help they need.
Yeah, everything we do is based on customer service. We're trying to make people feel good again about government. We're focused on solutions, innovation, creating efficiencies, and administrative competence, and that's what we think people want now more than ever, and I could not be more proud of the work we're doing in the Secretary of State's office.
All right, thank you so much for joining us once
again.
Great
to see you, Natalie.
Let's send it over to Mike.
Secretary Janulius, I'm digging the socks this morning.
Thanks, man.
Those are fantastic. All right, look, we have snow on the way. Lake effect, it's still mainly over the lake, but it's coming towards Chicagoland. We'll look at the future radar and talk about a 30 or 2 in the forecast coming up.
It is now 7:32. We have breaking developments in Oswego where 2 people are dead after a house explosion.
And we are on shutdown watch. Time running out for lawmakers to make a deal to fund the government. We are going to break down some of the sticking points.
And breaking news, journalist Don Lemon arrested after a protest at a Minnesota church. This happened a couple weekends ago. He was part of that group that interrupted a service at St. Paul Church last weekend. It was last weekend in Minneapolis. A pastor there reportedly works for ICE as well. Lemon was taken into custody last night by federal agents in Los Angeles. Activists across the country, including right here in Chicago, are taking a stance against immigration enforcement today. Organizers are urging people to stay home from work or school and to not spend any money shopping.
This is part of a nationwide protest movement in the wake of those series of deadly shootings. Say Kwan joins us live from the Avondale neighborhood on the northwest side with the very latest on Chicago's effort here. Say?
Hey, good morning to you. Well, today's boycott movement is being called National Shutdown Day. Now, this hasn't necessarily prompted a widespread closure of Chicago businesses, but some, including the Brewed Coffee Shop here in Avondale, are keeping their doors shut today and encouraging their customers to join the movement. Now, the owners of the coffee shop here also oversee a record shop in Logan Square, and they posted this on their Instagram page just yesterday announcing their closure and saying in part, while the stormtroopers of our government murder more innocent people in the streets than the alleged criminals they claim to be after, we're struggling to fight the horrors of this system under which we live, but we want to send a message where we can. Many local businesses we know are also finding other ways to show their support for this movement by donating some of their proceeds to mutual aid organizations. Here in Avondale, some of those businesses include Avondale Bull, Ludlow Liquors, Wolfhound Bar and Kitchen, and more. Meanwhile, last night, some activists went to protest at a Target in West Loop because they say the company has given ICE agents access to its stores to carry out some operations. Alderman Lamont Robinson joined the community outside that store last night and made some remarks. Listen.
We are here as a community in the city of Chicago to stand in solidarity with our sisters and brothers in Minneapolis, to say no to ICE, to say no to disinvestment, and also to stand with our brown brothers and sisters.
Well, 7 people, including 3 men and 4 women, were actually detained at the start of this protest after they tried to block the exits and shut down the store. Chicago police confirmed with us early this morning each of them have now been charged with criminal trespass to property. Now, we also know activists and many organizers are planning to make this movement very much a known thing. A lot of them have plans to go downtown today near Daly Plaza. If you're going to be around the downtown areas, just a heads up that there may be a big crowd out here today. Back to you guys.
All right, and I'm here on the latest with a house explosion and some other top stories we're following. So this morning, we're following that sad breaking news out of Oswego. We now know 2 people were killed in that explosion. Fire officials made that discovery overnight after searching the debris. The explosion happened around 6 last night on Fox Chase Drive. Initial findings suggest a gas leak may be to blame. NICOR has since shut off the gas supply. The man accused of killing a pregnant Downers Grove woman is in critical condition after injuring himself in jail. According to multiple reports, Nita Ravuka's injuries appear to be self-inflicted. The 19-year-old is facing multiple charges, including first-degree murder. Prosecutors say he stabbed 30-year-old Eliza Morales before setting her apartment on fire. Former Mayor Rahm Emanuel has been ordered to testify in a civil case related to a police raid. It happened in 2018 when Emanuel was mayor. According to court documents, Chicago police swarmed the wrong apartment in the back of the Yards neighborhood, pointing assault rifles at children and forcing their grandmother to stand outside without pants on. The family is suing the city of Chicago and the police officers involved. Now we have Brian Jackson standing by with more on what's happening in Minneapolis. Brian.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey is pushing for an end to what he calls unlawful ICE operations across his home state. He was at a mayor's conference in D.C. yesterday and defended Minneapolis as a sanctuary city. This comes as border czar Tom Homan takes over immigration enforcement operations in the Twin Cities. He said that he will hold agents accountable and that the Trump administration is working on a plan to decrease the overall number of federal agents in the state.
This is not a time to bend our heads in despair or out of fear that we may be next, because if we do not speak up, if we do not step out, it will be your city that is next.
I'm staying till the problem's gone. But we've made a lot of progress the last 3 days.
Holman says he spoke with Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Fry, saying that they agreed that dialogue is needed. Holman has not said how many agents are still in Minnesota as of right now. Time now 7:37. Checking in with Mike for a look at the forecast. Is the snow coming down just yet? I can't quite tell on this.
There are some flurries, Brian. In fact, I have it on high authority that at my home in northern Lake County, a little dusting.
You have a source.
A little dusting has already occurred, but the main lake effect is still out over the open water, but we're just getting kind of the fringe effects of that right now. The worst of it looks like it's going to go into northwest Indiana, especially tonight and early tomorrow. That's where a winter storm warning is in effect, starting at 3, expiring at 6 tomorrow. So it's a 27-hour long winter storm warning. In purple, winter weather advisories. And then for the city of Chicago right now, it's a winter storm watch. That's going to change either to a warning or an advisory. This lake effect band is going to come to the west and move through the area with bursts of heavy snow, at least for a short period of time. Now, there may be a gap before the next round of snow comes through here late this afternoon and this evening. This will be the one that could really clobber you in northwest Indiana. And then tomorrow, kind of a third installment of this lake effect snow. This might be pointed towards Chicago again, although the intensity should be a little bit less. Point is, I think personally, anywhere from Chicago southeast, if somebody's getting a half foot of snow, those will be the areas, especially in northwest Indiana. The farther west and southwest you go, the less snow you're going to get out of this system here before it all winds down tomorrow night into Sunday. Sunday, we might get a little brief snow shower during the night. Not a big deal. 18 today, 1/2 to 3 inches of snow just during kind of the early afternoon hours, with additional snow coming down tonight, maybe 6+ over parts of northwest Indiana. I have a couple, actually 3 interesting photos. I think we had a video coming up here too. Jim Dursinich sent in this cool shot of a lot of cirrus cloud cover out there. I would characterize that as cirrus fibratus, but either way, it's some pretty ice crystal cloud cover out there. You had some blue skies to enjoy, not so much today. Second photo, you got another spectacular sky featuring plenty of cirrus cloud cover and some snow on the ground. Sam, appreciate that. I love those colors there. Beautiful scene as the sun was going down. And take a look at this. This is from Barbara Rivera. And Barbara is showing us, do you recognize what birds those are? They're robins. Those are robins. Not all robins migrate. There are some that actually overwinter here, and apparently they are enjoying some crab apples that have fallen onto the ground there. They've been quite cold, and now they're going to be dealing with the snow, as are we all. All right, it is 7:40. We're going to take a quick break. Before we do so, take a look at those travel times coming up. Watch out for some nasty snow impacting commute times later this morning.
Ashley's President's Day sale is going on now.
Welcome back. The Department of Homeland Security says that hotels are critical sites when it comes to human trafficking. And today, the Illinois hotel industry is raising awareness about this issue. Michael Jacobson is the president and CEO of the Illinois Hotel and Lodging Association. Joins us this morning to talk about the effort underway to fight human trafficking here on the local level. Michael, thank you for being on the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's just start off by speaking generally here. Why the hotel industry has now taken more of an active role in preventing human trafficking?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a heinous crime that impacts 27 million people globally. And hotels really see themselves as one of the front lines of defense. We have a unique ability with how many times we interact with guests coming in and out of our hotels to really prevent human trafficking from taking place in our properties. And the first step of that is prevention. So we're training hundreds of employees here today on the warning signs to detect and prevent human trafficking.
So can you run us through some of the basics here? I mean, how are hotels used for this type of crime?
Yeah, unfortunately, again, you're looking at Chicago being kind of the crossroads of America. We have a lot of rail lines and highways going through Chicago. So naturally, a lot of trafficking victims are travel in and out of Chicago as they're on the way elsewhere, or things like prostitution happening. And so that's why we have a lot of real warning signs that we train our employees on how to detect it and report it to their managers, and then eventually to law enforcement if we see some of these warning signs taking place in our hotels.
Interesting. Can you run us through a couple of these? I mean, maybe a general example. I can imagine, there's certain kinds of bookings that may look sketchy compared to, like a family coming in town for a little vacation or something like that.
Absolutely. We look at something as simple as if they want to use cash to book a room rather than using a credit card. If the credit card that they try to use doesn't match the name on the ID, or if someone comes to check in and an individual doesn't really have control over their belongings, or it's evident that they don't have control over their own life. They're not answering questions that are asked of them. Someone else is answering for them. Also, if a key card is asked to be replaced multiple times, or it's, the door is unlocked many times in a 24-hour span, that means a lot of people are coming in and out of that room. So these are just some of the warning signs that not one of them in themselves isn't necessarily a telltale sign of human trafficking, but as we see patterns develop, that's when our staff are trained to report that to their managers so that we can look into it a little further.
Interesting. Okay. Do you mind commenting maybe a bullet point or two on striking the balance between being vigilant about this issue, but also maintaining privacy for your guests?
Absolutely. Obviously, guest privacy is important, but more importantly, the safety of our employees. We never want to put our employees in a tough position. So that's why a lot of the reporting is pretty discreet. A lot of it's within our computer systems, and there's mechanisms in place to report it to management that then they could take additional discreet actions to investigate and involve law enforcement, which obviously we have great partnerships and they're well trained to come in and investigate. So at the end of the day, it's a case of see something, say something, and it never hurts to try to report it so that we can take those additional steps to make sure that it's not a case of human trafficking. In most cases, it's not. But for the one that it is, in the one life we're able to save, it's important for us to do a training like the one we're doing here today.
Makes sense. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be gathering there today to run through this issue. One more question before we let you go, Michael, and that is, we may have a handful of hotel employees watching us this morning. Any messages you'd want to send out to actual, the general public who are going to be guests at these hotels, what we can do in that role?
Yeah, everybody has a role to play. So as you see, if something just doesn't seem right, it doesn't hurt to tell a hotel employee. And again, every hotel employee by law in Illinois has to be trained on this every 2 years. So it doesn't hurt just to flag something for one of our employees and then let them take the next steps on how to look into it a little further. So we all have a role to play, and please speak up if you see something that just doesn't seem right. Makes sense.
Michael, thank you so much, and hope it's a successful training today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
All right. It's 7:47, and we have a lot more Good Day Chicago to get to. Happy Friday morning. Hope your Friday morning's off to a great start as we look at the lake effect. Lake Michigan churning some snow that is heading our way. We'll be right back.
Live better, vote more.
All you need to live.
Welcome back to Good Day Chicago. It is 7:50, and I am told by a source here in the studio that it is snowing now over the city of Chicago. We'll check in with him in just a minute. This morning, though, we are following breaking news out of Oswego.
Yes, Gabriella Primus has that, and the other top stories we are following. Gabriella.
Yeah, Natalie Anthony, we now have some details about that house explosion in Oswego. 2 people were killed. Fire officials made that discovery overnight after searching the debris. The explosion happened around 6 last night on Fox Chase Drive. Initial findings suggest a gas leak may be to blame, but NICOR has since shut off the gas supply there. We could be headed for a partial government shutdown tonight. A deal was in place between Senate Democrats and the White House, but support fell apart overnight. The deal would fund most of the government through September, but just 2 weeks for the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats have voiced frustration over immigration enforcement. Lawmakers are hoping for another vote later today. Today, President Trump will announce his pick for the next Federal Reserve chair. He's picking former Federal Reserve Governor Kevin Warsh to replace Jerome Powell once his term ends in May. Powell was selected by Trump to lead the Fed during his first term in office, but has since called for his removal over disagreements on interest rate cuts. Natalie Anthony.
Thank you, Gabby. And let's take you live outside. Boy, it is snowing out there, as Mike expected.
Yes.
And it looks beautiful, though, Mike.
Well, that may change later today when it could look downright ugly. Light snow is falling. Maybe you can't quite tell from that shot, but I think you can from this view from 875 North Michigan Avenue, looking down on Lake Point Tower and Navy Pier. Looks a little fuzzy. That's because snow is indeed coming down. This is the appetizer to the main course. We have flurries kind of showing up here in the lighter blue colors, but where you see the dark blue, that's the real deal. There are a couple of pockets of some heavier snow tied to some meso lows, which are out there right now. These are going to push the snow to the west and bring in some of that heavier lake effect here during the day today. We do have a number of warnings that are in effect, watches and warnings, if you will. In fact, let's go ahead and look at the winter storm warnings. Porter, Lake County. In the city of Chicago, it's still a winter storm watch. That is going to have to change. It'll either be upgraded to a winter storm warning or changed over to winter weather advisory like DuPage, Lake, and eastern Will County are. The heaviest snow, eventually, when we total it all up, I think is going to be focused in northwest Indiana, but that will not be the only spot that picks up some significant snow. It may snow where you are, especially in the counties adjacent to the lake, very heavily for an hour or two and then stop. But during that time, you can pick up a couple of inches of snow. I'm looking just through afternoon for widespread 1/2 to 3 inch accumulations across the area. Obviously less the farther away from the lake you are. Then tonight, more snow coming through the city and into northwest Indiana, where in northwest Indiana, I think a 1/2 foot of snow is a conservative estimate. Few spots are going to get double-digit snowfall totals out of this, leading to really, really dangerous travel conditions. 7-day forecast, lake effect snow continues tomorrow, probably backing into the city again for a short period of time. And then temperatures in the upper 20s and even a couple of low 30s in there with just some light snow Sunday night and again on Wednesday. All right, Anthony, I would imagine even with just the light snow falling, travel times are going to start coming up.
Yes, the light snow falling, and then also a couple of accidents that we've been tracking. The big one has been on the outbound side of the Eisenhower. This happened just after 5 a.m., but it's been a long cleanup. An overturned box truck had the entire side of that road shut down completely for some time. We understand 2 left lanes are blocked now, so there is traffic moving, but you are still looking at solid traffic on the outbound side, delays of up to well over an hour. Now, on the inbound side, it's not a whole lot better. There's an accident on that side as well, so the inbound drive time on the Eisenhower Expressway at this point, almost an hour from Route 390 to downtown. On the Kennedy from O'Hare into the city, you're at 47 minutes, and on the Stevenson, you're at 43 minutes. I-355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Also, we've been following this accident that happened on both sides of the expressway, the Tri-State right at the Thornton Quarry. That has since been cleared, so things running a little bit more smoothly there. And on the inbound Dan Ryan, you're at just over a half hour inbound from 95th Street. To some news now. An apartment building in Park Forest has been condemned after residents complained about living there without any heat. One person claims this has been happening all winter. He even alleges that his dog died from these conditions. Now, the village confirms that they are aware of multiple complaints, and several tenants from at least 17 of those units have since been relocated.
They shouldn't have to live like this in a complex that receives federal funding. This is supposed to be, you know, a place where it's affordable and in living conditions.
And Illinois residential properties, I should say, are required by law to provide heat between October 1st and May 31st.
A Chicago area woman got a red light camera ticket in her mailbox. But here's the issue. It was not her car in the photo, but it was her license plate. It matches digit for digit, but it's the 9 that gives it away. The violator's license plate has a curved 9. Susan Bonini's 9 is straight. What does this all mean? That's because Susan's plate is an older plate. She says she's had the same plates for over a decade, but wound up paying for new ones, which cost her thousands of dollars.
I kept my old plates because if for some reason I have to go to court or something happens, like maybe these people commit a crime with that license plate, I can prove that I have my original license plates. What happens if they did something more than just running a red light, and I'd be blamed for that?
How could this happen? Fox 32 reached out to Chicago's Department of Finance to ask whether that red light ticket will be rescinded. We are still waiting for a response. After learning about our report, the Illinois Secretary of State's office opened its own investigation. So hopefully they will be able to get to the bottom of it and refund her that $200.
Quite the mishap.
It is.
Yeah.
You wonder, is it a fake plate that that person printed somehow? Who knows? Plenty more Good Day Chicago ahead. Keep it right here.
Touches of
Welcome back. The judge over